Dr. Anushree, I have shared with you the YouTube link. I will also share it with you in the WhatsApp. I will share it in the chat window here in Zoom. I will also share it in the. You can send it to director. I also shared it in the WhatsApp, ma'am. It's coming nicely in WhatsApp.
Okay. Hello, ma'am. Hello, how are you? Okay.
Hello. Hi, Dr. Anushree.
Hi, ma'am. We will start in some 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Dr. Anushree, participants can also rename themselves. I think that one which Dr. Priyambada is showing, she can also rename her name as Triple-IT's TCT course, or whatever is appropriate.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing in our camera students sitting there.
Yeah, students. Yeah.
It's up to you, ma'am, to rename her or rename the Triple-IT's TCT, whichever you want. Yeah. Yes, that's good. So, Dr. Anushree, are you able to make the students as a host yourself, or should I do that?
Sir, I'll check just a sec. Sir, I can't make them a host.
Okay, can you please tell me their names? I can do that right now.
Okay, Jahnavi.
Yes.
And Satvika. Tanuja. Satvika, Tanuja.
Satvika, Tanuja, Janvi.
Kavyashree.
Kavyashree. And I think the speaker has also joined, right? So, speaker is Dr. Shivani, correct?
Shivani has joined, yes. Hello, Dr. Shivani.
I have made her also as a co-host.
Hi, sir.
Sir, Isha, one girl, Isha.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Anushree, it's now live in YouTube. I have also sent you the YouTube link just to keep you informed.
Hello. So somebody's mic is on.
Hello. Hello. I hope the voice is clear.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
To tell a woman everything she cannot do is to tell her what she can. A very good evening to everyone who has gathered here to take part in Women's Day celebrations at Triple IT's Recipe. Let us begin this event with Vande Mataram, and I request everybody to stand in your places for the Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sukhalam, Malayaj Sheetalam, Sasya Shyamalam Mataram. ज्योत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी पुल्लकुसुमित द्रुमदलशोभिनी सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिणी सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम्
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा पूजिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा।
We have been celebrating Women's Day gloriously over the years. This year, we have planned to celebrate Women's Day as a 3-day event. On the day one, we had Ms. A. Lata, who is DGM of SHAR and part of SWAS. And the event was such a success, and I was glad to be part of it. And today, on the second day, we have here 5 wonderful women with us who have achieved a lot and here to talk about it in the fields of data science, AI, cybersecurity, entrepreneurship, and social service. I welcome Ms. Kavya Shri to give welcome speech for Dr. Shivani Gupta. Over to you, Kavya.
Good evening to everyone. I'm Kavyashree from UG2 ECE. I take pleasure in welcoming Dr. Shivani Gupta, who is a thought leader in analytics and AI with 2 decades of experience in global diversified delivery, innovation, and business development. She has proven track record in crafting strategic and business offering centrics and solutions involving cutting edge algorithms and technologies that have generated extensive quantifiable business value. She is an expert in cognitive computing, machine learning, and AI driven automation. Working with unstructured data like voice, image, document, and video is her current passion and was instrumental to develop many new solutions using AI. She has joined Geo 1.5 years back and working on strategic initiatives in sports. She is recognized in the industry as top 150 AI experts and influencers in India. Now, on the behalf of IIIT Sri City Girl students, I have a few questions for you, ma'am. What would
Wait a minute. You can ask the questions later.
okay.
Thanks for a very warm welcome, Janvi and Kavya. Really happy to interact with the next generation of data scientists and AI enthusiasts. So happy to connect, and it's my privilege to be part of such a esteemed institute. And I think Dr. Anushree and Dr. Director is doing an amazing job on giving the flavor of I would say business and industry experience to all the upcoming enthusiasts. So I really congratulate them to do a wonderful job. I think if you have questions, we can start with questions, or I will probably talk about what data scientists are doing currently, what type of work they are doing, what type of skill set they require. That gives a idea for all of you to look forward for this particular field, which is expanding day by day. This is the era where everyone wants to become data scientist, and there is opportunity for everyone to probably survive and thrive in this industry. So I'll share a couple of my experience in terms of where do we see industry going, what are the skills that required, how does the AI thing works at a high level. But if you want to start with questions, I'm open for that as well.
We will have the questions at the end, Dr. Shivani.
Sure. Okay. So let me share and let me know if you are able to see the full screen of my presentation. Let me put up full screen. Are you seeing one screen or two screen?
We are doing two screens.
Two screens you're seeing, right?
Just
Okay.
go there. Yeah, it's
Right.
fine now.
Wonderful. I think data scientist is one area where everyone is looking forward to be part of this journey, and everyone wants to become data scientist. It's a kind of a very fancy, very, I would say, very hyped kind of a job at this point of time, very challenging, quite hectic if you really want to do justice to this, and if you want to be a kind of a fun-loving person, it is kind of a challenging, and you can do a lot of fun activities as well, because it is supporting all the latest and greatest technologies what currently we are working on. So I'll just talk about why it is important in terms of what we are doing in industry perspective, what is the data scientist role, and then we talk about how it is fit with the overall thing, right? So I think this is one of the things what you see in all the memes in terms of what people think about as a data scientist. Everyone wants to call them some data scientists. That's the most used or abused terminology. When I started my career, it used to be statistics, because that's the place data science has started their journey. It has evolved from statistics to analytics, then it has become data science, and now it is totally evolved in the I would say AI piece. So I think I would say it's a combination of statistics and computer science. Those are the two primary big fields which has evolved together, and that is the place where all the qualifications, all the requirement, all the capabilities of data science is coming into the picture. So that's probably a very basic or very interesting, I would say, introduction of what data science is all about. But when we talk about what data science do, right, and why we require so much of data science people, data scientists in the industry. So let's think about what all we are doing currently using data science, analytics, and AI. In next probably 10-15 years, where do we see this industry going through? We have done, I think, in last couple of years, a lot of digital transformation. And when we started this journey of digital transformation, it used to be pure digital transformation, but now it is all about how do we drive digital transformation using AI. So it is now AI driven digital transformation. And when I say AI driven digital transformation, the difference is you need to think business first, that what all you want to achieve with digital transformation, convert that to a business problem, business use cases, try and solve them with all the latest and greatest technology, where you can do automation, where you can reduce human intervention, where you can give the best experience for customer. And that all comes under kind of a intelligent process automation, which we are at a space where we are trying to automate many more processes in the system. So think about that you want to do some automation in banking industry, right? So I think most of us have opened an account sometime in our life, right? Most of the students have also opened an account in the bank. I think when I have opened my account probably 15-20 years back, it used to take, like, you fill the form, you give probably a couple of your document paper where you prove your identity, you give your parents connect that, okay, these are my parents, and they have a eligible account, and then it goes to processing unit. It takes probably 3-4 weeks time, and then they open the account. Trust me, that process hasn't changed much even in today's environment. So when I say it still takes 3-4 weeks time, still you have to fill forms, it has just upgraded the channel. Earlier, we used to do that. We used to fill form by hand. Now we can fill the form in the system. We can fill digital forms. So we can probably, rather than giving a hard copy of the documents, you can just scan and submit the documents. Rather than going to branch, you can do the probably form filling by sitting your home also. But does that change, has it changed the process? Not much, because still you have to do all the activity as a customer. In the banking side also, probably rather than 3 to 4 weeks, now it is happening within a week's time, where they used to take even account opening process. With the help of AI, with the help of intelligent process automation, what we are doing, we are trying to do this activity within probably 30 seconds, within 40 seconds, without involving any human in the chain. So when I say no human is involved, as in you don't need to fill a form. You just scan the copies of a couple of documents like your Aadhaar card, your for example, if you are a part of a college, you just submit your identity proof with respect to your educational certificates and just send that to bank. The intelligence of process automation or the AI engine will go through those documents, pull up your information from the form you have filled or the documents you have submitted. It verifies it, it validates it, it sends it to the risk team just to check if there is no fraudulent activity involved in the process, and checks that you don't have any earlier account with us, and it opens the account for a customer. So what has happened that one, there are no customer physical or virtual involvement in the process. On the other side, there is no human going through your documents or going through your information and then doing those activities manually. So that's the impact of AI, where it has reduced the time of 5 working day to probably 20 to 30 seconds of augmentation it has done. We call it worker augmentation, or we call it intelligent process automation, where we are trying to mimic the way people were used to do, but with the help of AI and automation, that activity has reduced to very few seconds, and it has evolved probably the customer experience to a big time where people don't have to go through all, they don't have to do all this mundane work which used to happen. So that's the introduction of AI, that what AI is trying to do, where it is helping enterprises, where it is helping industries or businesses, evolving the processes really well. So that's the probably outlook of AI, and I will talk about a couple of examples in sports also, but also think about how it is going to impact the industry. So if I see today how it is going to help the businesses to grow, or how it is going to save the money for businesses, I think the report says that it can save up to $1 trillion up to 2030, but trust me, this number is going to go higher even till 2030, because new emerging technologies are coming, and the things which we used to think that those cannot be automated, we are trying to probably get into those areas also. So this is still our financial industry figure, and which I'm talking about the banking, capital market, and insurance industry. If we club together all other verticals, this could be probably 10 to 15-fold altogether. Right? Because every industry has a different scope of automation. Every industry has different scope of what AI can bring in to the industry. I talk about sports. I think all of you or some of you would be cricket enthusiasts. We have Reliance has a team called Mumbai Indians, and you might be familiar with that because they are the most, probably they have won the championship most number of times. One can think that they have expertised the entire process. They don't need any technological advancement, but you would be surprised that AI is even helping sports teams. AI is getting into cricket, football, badminton, kabaddi, everywhere to help them to make informed decisions, right? Earlier, we used to think that if we have experts like Zahir Khan or Mahila Jayawardene or Kiran More or Parthiv Patel, why do we need analytics or AI there? But you need to help them to better understand the player strength, give them multiple simulation iterations, and give them probably opportunities which they might not be able to see because there are too many elements involved in the system. So what we do, we understand, so I'll give you a couple of examples where all we are helping Mumbai Indians. It could be identifying the playing 11, right? We have helped them to identify the players which could be well fit for the auction. We have also helping them to come up with a playing 11 for each match. When we say each match, the playing 11 is selected on the basis of who is opponent and which ground we are playing in, what type of environmental or weather conditions are, what is the pitch condition is. So if you need more 3 fast bowler or you need 3 spinners, all those things are decided on the basis of your opponent and the pitch and I would say field conditions keeping in mind. So those are the places where AI can come and even make a lot of value, which we have not even thought about doing that 3 or 4 years back. So even experts or the champions, I would say, are going towards adopting AI in day-to-day decision-making processes. I'll talk about one more thing which is happening big time in industry. So when I have joined this particular industry 20 years back, we used to probably build 5 different probably solutions in a year, right? But now we are at a stage where we build probably 50, 60 solutions every year. That also in one vertical, right? So if I talk about the telecom vertical, which I manage, sports vertical, which I manage, or agriculture vertical, which I manage, each vertical can have probably 30, 40, 50 solutions, depending on our scalability to adopt and develop those solutions. So when you build so many solutions, you need lot many things beyond data scientists. So when we think about AI, I think first thing comes into the mind that you need to have data scientists. I'm sure those are probably the key in the entire ecosystem of the AI world, but there are other things also required in order to scale the AI solutions, AI use cases, and not only developing AI, but also deploying and using those AI solutions in the system. So we need platforms which can support the expansion, which can probably take all these solutions and run. All these solutions need to run in some sort of a platform. So we need a ML platform. We need either a data lake or data cloud kind of environment where integrated data is residing. When I say integrated, think about Mumbai Indian, right? Where all the integrated data of your players, your ground, your weather, your opponent, your pitch, everything can reside in one place. That could be integrated data. And the size of that data varies from the industry to industry, right? Sport data is still smaller if we don't consider video as part of data to start with. But think about telecom data where we record each and every time you click a particular app, or how much time you're sitting on WhatsApp, or how much time you're spending your time on Facebook, or how much time you're watching a Netflix channel. All that data gets recorded and it goes to billions and billions of record just on a daily basis. So even accessing that data, probably pulling information from data requires a very strong data ecosystem, as well as a scalable platform where you can do all the operational activity related to AI. If you have so much of data, it is bound to happen that you may not be able to run all the operations in CPU. So you either require very, very high-end CPU, and if you are working with unstructured data like your pictures, your videos, or your speech, then certainly you require GPUs which can run and process your data on a near real-time fashion. Because you require all these operations to happen in a very faster turnaround time. So nowadays, I think rather than we talk about model deployment or data deployment, we talk about how can we build a kind of a API ecosystem where we can talk with one data to another just with API. Even the Solution deployment can happen through API. So this is the new technology which is coming up. Either you talk about Flask or Docker containerization. Those are the things which people use to basically deploy your solutions in the process. Nonetheless, that you require all type of skill set in order to make this end-to-end ecosystem work. So either it is with respect to platform, with respect to data, with respect to technology, with respect to model deployment, you require all those type of skill set in order to make this entire ecosystem work. And even if you deploy, first and foremost thing comes that you should be able to, you should have a positive mind to adopt the changes which AI is going to bring. So whenever we are working on the critical problems, what happens that we may not get the first solution as the best solution. So people should have a kind of an open mind. They need to have patience to wait for a couple of iterations to happen. And by the time I think our solution is decent enough to adopt and utilize, people need to have faith and trust and patience and some time where model can improvise its accuracy, its adaptiveness, its functionality, where it can start giving the good results. So when we talk about machine learning algorithm, it is that iterative process. And I think there are a couple of phrases which we use very often is AI is a journey, not a destination. And when we say that, it's that even if you receive a 95%, 98% accuracy using AI, you should never stop improvising it, because the way data is changing, the way environment is changing so fast in our day-to-day life, we will be seeing the customer behavior, customer pattern changing on day-to-day basis. So even to maintain that 95% which we have achieved first time, we have to evolve many more things. We have to keep on working on that to even maintain that accuracy which we have received first time. So it's a journey. It's and we talk about machine learning algorithm where machine can automatically learn from the changes customers are bringing in, atmosphere bringing in, enterprises bringing in, so that we can update the entire ecosystem with less and less human intervention. So that's the business reasoning why we need AI. And if we need AI, then how do we tackle this as an industry problem? Now, if we do one piece of this section where we all get excited, all the data scientists get excited in terms of how can we solve one problem. So I'll just give a high level view of how do we break down the problem and how do we solve that. So when I say AI is a journey, let me talk about the steps which we generally take, right? So first foremost is that you need to have a decent amount of business understanding. So if you are talking about, for example, cricket problem, right? You have to have understanding about how the game is played. You need to have understanding about the rules and regulation which are aligned with the game. You need to understand the key matrices of a bowler versus a batsman versus a left arm seamer versus a right arm Chinaman. All those details you need to have very clear understanding. You can connect with the business folks, you can connect with the expert to understand those details, but those things are required for us to understand. We also need to understand data in terms of what all we are capturing for that particular business problem, right? So I'll again talk about, for example, cricket. When we collect the data, we collect the data about your batsman, your bowler, their speed, their line and length, their ball tracking movement, how many runs they have made, how many runs they have given, who has taken whose wicket, what type of ball it was when the wicket was taken, etc., etc. Right? So one has to have a deeper understanding about the data one can think about, and the data which the ecosystem can have about a problem statement. So once we have a data, we do a data quality check, because all data may not be good data, right? There is a lot of dirty data also available, which we data scientists spend a whole lot of time to clean it up. So that is probably someone has to do a data quality check. This is one place where all our innovative idea comes into the picture, right? Like feature creation. Feature creation is nothing but you twist and tail the data in a way which start making more and more sense to business folks. So feature creation is assume that you want to solve a problem of how do you align a player performance with their historical data, right? So you will try and assess, for example, you're assessing a bowler's performance. You will try and assess that, okay, what type of ball this guy gives, but that is a very high level feature, right? You have to break down into a problem and talk about that, okay, what is his average speed? Is he consistently bowling of the same speed, right? Bowling speed is one part of it. Is he able to give a nice line and length? Those are the features which you have to create. And when we talk about the next level of feature, we also talk that, okay, in T20 power play, how was his line and length? In death overs, how was it line and length, right? Power play is nothing but your first 6 overs. Death overs is nothing but your last 6 overs. So is he changing his dynamics in the first part of the match versus the last part of the match? So you will think about how can you align those qualities of a player into different situations, different scenarios, and then extract the probably stability metrics out of that. We also convert that data at a player level. We call it sphere design. It is nothing but a player 360 or a customer 360, where we are trying to connect all the data point at a customer level or a player level, where we can understand the player worth. So assume that a person is an all-rounder, right? So we have to connect, for example, Jadeja, right? We have to understand his all batting capability as well as his bowling capability also, because he's a player who does both the jobs. So you have to create an ecosystem of all-rounders where you can measure them against different all-rounders. So that's we call probably a creation of data layer, where it is connecting all the dots. We do a lot of analysis in terms of EDA, which is exploratory data analysis, to understand, for example, player detail, understand the player performances, understand the stability of the player, etc., etc. What if analysis, right? That, okay, if I give 2 over to Bumrah in the power play versus middle over, what is going to be the impact of that one versus other scenario? So that comes from the simulation process. We do feature engineering, which is nothing but creating lots and lots of features, which are probably giving you dimension, multiple dimension. As I talked about, either it is power play or death overs or middle overs, you will try to do that. You also try to do some type of segmentation to start with, to understand that, okay, which players here look alike or probably follow the similar pattern. This is the first cut of analysis which you can start with, but ultimately you land up building next step would be how can you build predictive models. So think about in cricketing scenario, can you build a predictive model which will tell end of the day if Mumbai is playing against Delhi Capital, what is going to be the score? Who is going to make highest runs, right? Interesting problem to solve. And can you predict that 2 days in advance? Can you predict that 1 day in advance? Can you predict that score once the team 11 is decided or declared, right? So those things of models you can build phase-wise model, you can predict inning-wise model, you can predict probably which over should be given to which particular bowler. All those things can be developed, right? then you will, once you have these models built, you will also deploy these models so that those can be used in a near real-time environment. You will monitor them, right? So when we monitor these IPL models, we try and see that how they are performing, what we have predicted versus what the result was after the match. And if we have to tweak the model, how do we tweak it, right? So one is, how do we do the actions? So if I'm giving my recommendation to Zahir Khan that, okay, this particular match is going to be very, very, I would say, neck to neck. Do you want to change either with respect to your playing 11 dynamics, or do you want to change the way the order of the players or order of the bowlers? Those are the couple of actions which we can suggest this to business, but ultimately experts take their decision and come up with what they want, what they feel the correct decision. As I said, many a times we don't get the results in one time, but that is the place where we have to evolve. We have to keep on nurturing or keep on evolving our models, make it better day by day, and then make it probably utilize it to develop a better model. We have to monitor the key matrices so that we would be able to take better decisions next time, right? So these are the probably key objectives what we do, or this is the journey what we follow in order to complete a cycle of AI journey. And couple of processes are getting automated now. A couple of processes requires business understanding which cannot be automated, but other processes are pretty much AI has, we call it AI for AI, right? Where we are trying to automate our own processes so that we don't need to involve human intervention at each and every step. We do involve that, but not for the mundane processes, but to make probably sensible decisions. At that point of time, we ask the human interventions to probably jump in, or human experts to jump in and come up with the better decisions. I hope I have given probably a taste of what AI is looking for, the industry requirement, the type of work we require to do, and how does a particular cycle of AI works at a overall level. So I'll take a pause, and I think I'll open up for questions, and then we can probably answer a couple of questions what you're having.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such a good insight. I have a few questions for you on behalf of IIIT Sri City Girl students.
Right.
Do technologists and engineers have a duty to think about the societal impact of AI, such as a labor displacement?
See, one has to think that technology is going to evolve every year on year. You cannot think that if I want to think about an example when auto came into the picture, right? Do you think that was a replacement of your manual rickshaw people, right? The rickshaw guys who used to manually pull the that three wheel rickshaw, right? But if we think that we are going to replace them, we are going to make them out of job, that's a kind of a cliche, right? Industry is going to evolve. We all want to evolve. We want to remove the human intervention. Because auto came into the picture, we have reduced lot of human effort, or human, I would say, manual effort, which people used to do to pull the rickshaw. So that's a very simple example to understand. And same is happening with all the technological advancement. So idea, probably the thing which we have to remember is any technology which is going to change the way we are doing things today is going to get some, I think, friction in the industry. But sooner we adopt that new technology, faster we will be able to give, I would say, uplift to the society. We will be able to give people more and more work. People they can upgrade themselves with the technological advancement and basically make them useful with the newer technologies. So I hope I have answered the question.
Thank you, ma'am, for your enlightening presentation.
Thank you. I think it was very nice talking to you, all of you, and really enjoyed it. And if you have any more questions, happy to help, happy to answer that as well.
So I have a question, Dr. Shivani.
Yes, please. Please go ahead, sir.
So one second, we are muting other laptop. Yeah. Can you tell us, what are the skill sets? The students are in second year, third year now, and what exactly they have to learn as part of the curriculum, outside the curriculum, for them to make a career in data science?
Very good question. I think you have all the things what you have in curriculum to learn the technological part of it, right? So current generation, if I talk about top 2 or 3 technologies which you have to have, must have, is one is the Python thing, right? Python and PySpark. PySpark comes into the picture where your data size is huge. Learn at least one, master it in at least one technology. You can start with Python or PySpark. Master it in that particular tool. Learn at least one vertical, right? Wherever is your interest. You are interested in e-commerce, you are interested in banking or financial services, you are interested in sports, agriculture. Every vertical has requirement for data scientists. So understand one vertical really well, because people want to see how fast you can adopt, how fast you learn new vertical. Those two things are the starting point. And as you start your career, I think other technology will also come into the picture, which is ML engineer job, your data deployment job. All those things you can actually develop once you are in job. But these two things, I think, spend a good amount of time to learn it, even build APIs. I think API creation is also one of the things which everyone wants to see, that how hands-on you are to build your own API, which can be used to render your data, your model, etc. So these 3 things you can start with as a student. Have master in Python or PySpark, learn at least one vertical where you can talk about the challenges in that vertical, the data available in that vertical, also what type of AI probably upliftment that particular vertical is going through, right? So that would be good enough for you to have the kickstart for your data science career.
And how about internship opportunities in data science? How do you see opportunities, and what kind of internship students get? How long these internships are? Can you just help us with some information as per your understanding?
So I think in the people who approach us, or people I would say we entertain in Reliance, are people who are interested for long-term internship. See, generally what happens in big organization, 1 or 2 month internship is basically of no use for either student nor organization. So look for internship which you can do along with your probably final year portions, where you can do work with the industry for at least 3 to 4 months minimum. You can extend that to one of your semester itself, because that's the time you will learn a lot in terms of how do you utilize what you have learned in theoretical aspect. You will be able to utilize some of that with your practical problem solving thing. So look for a longer internship. You will learn a lot. You have to work hard, because you will be doing probably your coursework also during that time, and you have to work with the industry also. But I think most of the people do offer flexible working hours, etc., so that you don't have to be in office or work for 8 hours, nothing like that. But you have to put a lot of effort to probably come up with the kind of benchmark organizations have for internship. So those are the things which I prefer. I give opportunity to the students who are really willing to stretch themselves, and they are willing to solve business problems rather than just solving what they have learned in their coursework.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Yes. Now I would like to welcome Ms. Siri to give welcome speech for Ms. Shilpa Rao. Over to you, Ms. Siri.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I am Siri of UG4 ECE, and I would like to welcome Ms. Shilpa Rao. Ms. Shilpa Rao is the head of AI-powered products and platforms at Tata Consultancy Services. She is an entrepreneur with a large IT firm, and she heads the artificial intelligence-powered strategic intelligence platform, Optumera. The platform has been implemented for several Fortune 500 companies, driving multi-billion-dollar growth for its customers. She has taken this platform from concept to a new business line for Tata Consultancy Services with 35 plus patents and several awards, including Steve American Business Award, AI Iconics, Data Breakthrough, AI Excellence, and several others. She is an advisory board member for Able Aura and is a member of several other forums. I request her to enlighten us with her history.
Thank you so much, Tanuja, for a warm welcome, and hello, everyone. So today what I'm going to talk about, actually it was very interesting to hear Dr. Shivani talk about sports, finance, and telecom. So really insightful session. Thank you so much, Dr. Shivani. And to kind of continue from where Dr. Shivani left, I'm going to talk about retail. So she covered sports, finance, and telecom. I'm going to cover how AI is leveraged in the area of retail. Okay. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. So retail I chose because retail is something which is close to my heart, and it's something that we can all very well relate to, right? We all shop. And today we are actually witnessing AI in all the things that we do in retail, and many of the things which are actually AI enabled when we shop online. So what we have seen many use cases today, it kind of ranges from targeted advertisements. I think most of you who would have browsed online would have seen certain ads which are targeted for you based on what you have searched for or based on your search history. We all get personalized recommendation. All of you shop on Amazon. I can't see the students. Just a sec. Hands up. Like everybody shops on Amazon? No? Yes? Okay, cool. So on Amazon also, you can see a lot of personalized recommendation on your first page, right? And again, there is also AI, which is kind of working at the back end. And then there are other cool things which you might have, like read about or seen videos on, things like cashierless checkout or in-store bots, which are helping you to do a lot of things, or virtual mirrors. Let me just quickly show you some YouTube videos so that you can get a good idea what I'm talking about, okay? So let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just play this.
Four years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
So isn't that fun what AI can do? Okay, I'll show you one more of this. This is a virtual mirror, right? So
people into their stores. A smart mirror is simply an app that turns the screen of a smartphone or other mobile device into a mirror using its camera function. As users look at the image, the app will make it appear as if they are wearing the product. Peter Johnson is with FaceCake Marketing.
and we already have a lot of apps in which on our phones, right, where we could actually do this in real life. Have you, do you guys have those apps on your phone? Some of you? You tried out? Beauty apps? So everything is, leveraging some sort of AI behind the scenes to actually enable to do that. Let me go back to the deck. But what we see today, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There is a whole lot of bunch of things which are happening in any organization to actually make it happen, right? And this includes everything. Like if you take a retail organization, there are a lot of functions which happen. And I could, summarize these into like 4 buckets. So if you see retail today, retail, the complexity is really large, right? So we're talking about someone like Amazon or a Walmart or, a bigger ones. They have almost 35 crore products which they are selling both online and offline. They have 4,000 plus stores. There are 26 crore transactions which are happening, and there are 3.7 crore customers who are either visiting them online or visiting their store. So the volume itself is like really, really huge. And if you have to give them an experience which is like this, it is just impossible for you, to anyone actually, to do it without the power of AI. And as customers, we all want some things which are very personalized to us. We want, this 35 crore products be sorted out to things which we really care about and things we really want, right? And that's what we see in that Amazon app also. It kind of perfectly throws to you what are the things that you want to see, what are the things which are relevant to you. And that's again, a lot of AI which is working behind the scenes. So if you take any retail organization, there are 4 major functions, right? So plan is where you're planning things, right? And this requires you to really predict and forecast in terms of what is going to happen. So this happens almost, if you can see, like almost a year in advance. So what fashion that you see today on the shelves, many of that fashion is actually which is designed and decided almost a year ago. And it takes that much of a lead time for you to, actually go through that entire iteration of, from concept to sampling to actually producing and then delivering a lot of goods to you. And you know that these trends keep on changing. So you need to have that ability to change fast with it and understand when the customer is changing behavior, and also predict how much you're going to sell at every given point in time. And this again requires a lot of predictive ability, and that's where AI comes into play. And that is not just for the fashion, fashion side of things, even for grocery, even for fresh produce. How you're going to take into account all the things which are going on, including the various disruptions which happen in your supply chain, or weather events which happen in various parts where the food is grown. How do you take all of that into account and really predict what is going to happen in a longer term forecast perspective? That's again where AI helps. Once you plan, then you have to actually buy it. And buying requires you to negotiate with a lot of vendors. It requires you to identify which are the sources. And again, a lot of AI is leveraged there, where you can actually leverage simulatory models to really figure out how can you negotiate with a particular vendor, how can you decide on how much quantity that you need to buy through the cycle. And then once you do that, the next step is to actually transport the goods. Now imagine these 35 crore products which are sitting in multiple countries, in multiple locations, in multiple warehouse, and then you have to bring those 5 out of those 35 crore products miraculously to you, to your house, and that too in a day's time. And that's where retailers like Amazon and Walmart are going, and we see it today also, like same day delivery, next day delivery. And how are they able to do that, right? Again, there a lot of predictive technology is leveraged, where they actually preempt that in a particular location, how many are going to order that particular product, and understanding the customer behavior, understanding the shift in the customer behavior. Lot of technology is leveraged for in that aspect too. And then also from a moving perspective, right? How do you understand that? How can you optimize what you're moving in your truck so that your truck is not empty? Because every transport that you do costs you a certain amount of money. And in today's time, what has happened, sometimes the cost of transportation is higher than the cost of the product itself. So retailers really have to optimize it so that they can actually lower the cost and pass out those benefits to the consumers. And then from a selling perspective, we saw certain technologies which help you to enhance customer experience. Similarly, how do you really understand when the customers need particular thing? How can you really give them offers? How do you optimize your price? How do you know when the demand of that product is going to be high? So again, a lot of insights goes in to really figuring a lot of that out. So what we see today as AI and what we kind of know today as AI is just the tip of the iceberg, but there is just so much which goes behind the scenes. And when you are working in the corporate world, you'll start figuring out that there are lots and lots of opportunities where you can actually leverage the power of AI to completely transform that business process, bring in, shift from being execution focused to being more strategic focused, and the opportunities are endless. And in fact, every industry, I just talked about retail, and Dr. Shivani was talking about sports and telecom and others. Every industry, if you take, is up for transformation with AI, and it is all up to your hands as you kind of join the workforce. So, it goes right from your planning to merchandising, supply chain, trade, back office, be it personalization, even warehouse, right? So it's a combination of how can you leverage AI with different technologies, right? Like with your sensor data, how do you kind of leverage that? How do you leverage robotics and others? So another quick example, and maybe I could quickly share a video. So when you get that, product delivered from Amazon in a day's time, a lot of it, I mean, this is something which I've got a US based video, but what happens is that the product is not handpicked, right? So again, there is a lot of AI, there is a lot of robotics, which kind of happens behind the scenes. So I'm going to show you
static rows of shelves.
Let me know if you can hear the sound.
With staff walking back and forth. Here it's the shelves which do the walking. Or more precisely, the yellow shelf units hitch a ride on the orange robot wheeled units, operating under remote control.
At the front here we've got cameras, sensors. They're looking for any obstructions that might be on the floor. That'll send information back to the out of it, and it'll tell the robot to slow down and come to a standstill safely. We also have scanners underneath, which is recognising where it is on the FC floor and move it from one location to another location.
Every item is placed by a picker on the shelves. It's been given a barcode, so a robot can find it later. But crucially, the shelves are stacked in a completely random way. This is deliberate. The same items are placed all around the factory, so robots or pickers are never far away from an item, making picking it quicker.
These robots do a neat little bit of machine learning, which is to realise if they happen to have on board an item which is currently trending and is somehow proving popular, instead of returning back to the middle, they actually hang around the outside expecting to be called upon again.
There's a direct link from what's happening here.
Okay, so essentially what you are seeing in that video is that they have these robots that are called Kiwis, which are actually identifying which is the item that needs to be picked, and of those 35 crore items which are there. And when you place an order, you need only 5 items out of it. So it is going to the right shelf, picking and bringing that entire shelf. Also, it is going to all those different 5 shelves where those items might be kept. It navigates through that entire warehouse floor and exactly gets you those 5 items which are to be packed to be delivered to your home. So there is again a lot of things which are happening behind the scenes which can really make it possible so that you can have whatever you ordered at your doorsteps the next day. So it's very interesting what the power of AI can actually do, and we all experience it. Many times we are not aware that a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, and I would say the world is there for you to explore. So that's a very quick presentation from my side. Open for questions.
Yes, ma'am, there are some questions for students. First one is that how did you get started in AI and what led you to your current role at TCS?
Sure, my current role at TCS, right? Okay, so I joined TCS straight out of college. So I completed my engineering, I majored in AI, and then I did my B school, and then I joined TCS. At that point in time, this was many years back. So at that point in time, the only reason I joined the company was because the office was very close to my home. But Destiny had different things planned for me. I was posted in Chennai, and then later I was posted in UK. When I landed up in UK, it was really cold, and I landed in the middle of winter. And while I used to wait for a bus, I actually spent a lot of time in a grocery store, just to keep myself warm. And the grocery in UK looks very different. Like, the potatoes are huge, and it was very interesting to just look at it. And when I was doing that, I observed one store associate, and every day he used to throw packets and packets of ready meals into the trash can. So ready meals are like these prepared meals, which are like sealed and packed, and they, stay for a couple of days. You can like heat it and eat it. And he was throwing it in like trash can, and coming from a family where you had to finish everything on the plate, even those curry leaves. It was criminal to see somebody just throwing away packets and packets into trash can. And I went up to him and asked him that, why are you doing this? And the reason that he told me became the concept and the idea. Then I came back, I started working with our R&D labs. At that point in time, AI was there, but it was in a very different form. So it started, the journey started from there, because this required a lot of capability, because the problem that we were trying to solve was, an NP hard problem. So we really needed to think about how can we solution it. And that's how the journey began in the field of AI. Then taking into the first form of the solution, we showed it to a lot of customers. And then we had one client CEO who said that this is exactly the problem that I want to solve. And that's where our journey began. And from there, it has been a very, very beautiful and a very enriching journey for us. We are like a startup within TCS. So, taking that idea and working on, different client purposes. So we are helping clients achieve a lot of their purpose. Like, for example, one of our clients have said that I will not carry any artificial ingredients in my products. And because artificial ingredients are bad, and they are bad for everyone. But as a company, when you have to take that stance, and then most of the products which are packaged products which are available have artificial ingredients in it, you really need to evaluate your business risk. You really have to still, run your business, be profitable, and at the same time take that bold stand. And that's where we are helping them to really de-risk their business, understand what what they could actually do, and help them to make those strategic adjustments so that they can actually make that bold stand. Another company that we are working with, they are on a mission to make medicine prices more affordable, and we are helping them exactly in that journey. Another client that we are working with are working on how making groceries more affordable so that the customers can actually have quality food and live better lives. So various journeys and various purposes we are enabling through the power of AI, and it's been very interesting. And as you mentioned, we have grown from a concept to 35 plus patents, some of which I co-own, and the platform has been leveraged by a lot of companies globally. So it's been a very interesting journey.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your wise words.
So I have a question, Shilpa.
Sure.
So this is more to, I landed in your LinkedIn page, and it showed that you had dyslexia symptoms or issues when you were very young, and how you, sort of came out of that, and how you, as a child to a young woman now, how you got yourself transformed?
Sure. So yes, I am dyslexic. And when I was growing up, I did not know, but it is a challenge, and dyslexia is something which does not go. So when I was growing up, a lot of challenges. Like, for example, I cannot tell between left and right. And even today, I cannot tell between left and right. I have my nails painted so that, I can differentiate. This is my left and this is my right. Same thing happened with BND. Same thing happened with numbers. It was very difficult for me to actually, learn math for that matter. And at that point in time, what I did was art was my strength. I really loved art. So I started coloring my math book. So in fact, my math book was more colorful than my drawing book. And that's how I started, my affinity towards, towards learning math and, kind of getting through it. A lot of it was also through memorization. So I realized that, I could memorize a lot of things. And that's how I got through school. Once I got through school, there was a choice from a career perspective. And at that point in time, art was like a natural choice. So actually, I, gave an architecture exam. I actually cleared it and was getting admission in JJ School of Arts, which is like one of the reputed institute in Mumbai. But when I was giving the exam, I got bored, and I decided that I want to do science more. The reason behind it is that because I'm dyslexic, I felt that I was inventing things for myself, and maybe it's like small things which really help me to, make sense out of sense of the world, and actually navigate through it. And I felt that technology is such a it gives you such a level playing field, right? So spell check is such a boon. I still make mistakes in spellings, but spell check is a boon. So that's how I got into engineering, and then later I majored in AI.
Very nice that you have really with all that you are able to do very well in your career, and this is a lot of inspiration that we can draw from you.
Thank you so much. And I heard about your question on internship.
Yeah.
So let me just tell you. So I'm also part of Women in Data. So Women in Data is a not-for-profit organization, and we are focused on creating diversity in data careers, which include AI, data science, statistics, and everything else. And what we are currently working on with another college is on a social project with with another NGO. So this is an NGO which works on local artisans, and they have created a lot of products, but they are not in a position where they could actually list it on a a Shopify or an Amazon, because the charges are very high. So we are helping them to from a catalog, identify that catalog, enrich the product so that it is more searchable, because these are like art, like local artisans, right? Like, you have these specific arts which are there in Andhra Pradesh, or specific arts which are there in Maharashtra, or Bandhani prints and things like that. So we're taking that and leveraging AI to really segregate all these different product images, and also attribute them. So that's something we are doing, and we are looking at other social projects, and this could be possible opportunity, to collaborate with various colleges to take on some of the social projects, which could be beneficial for both, right? So it gives you an internship on, and then also helps the cause.
Thank you for the opportunity. We will explore.
I think that's all from my side. Thank you so much, and lovely to meet you all. Wishing you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was great. So now let's take a 10 minutes break, and I request all the girls in the 115 to return back after 10 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. This is Satvika, a second year CSE student. Today we have here Ms. Lakshmi Nair, who is a seasoned cybersecurity professional with over 20 years of experience in the field of security, risk and compliance, privacy, data security, and application security. She is a security and privacy professional, a certified leader or auditor at ISO. She has avid consulting experiences with global and domestical customers in energy, banking, and chemical and petroleum segments. She is known for her innovative problem solving, result oriented approach, and fearless leadership style. Now, I take the pleasure of welcoming Ms. Lakshmi Nair to share her experience with her.
Thank you, Satvika. A very good evening to everyone. And thank you for joining us today. This has been a real great experience listening to Dr. Shivani, Ms. Shilpa over the last 1 hour or so. And I hope you had a lot of takeaways coming from that session as well. It's always a pleasure for me to speak to students, something I'm very passionate about in my all the roles that I've been doing so far. So to me, I truly believe that the next generation of skills are to be built organically, right? It can't be through you have to build fresh flowers and with the right buds, right seeds, and that's what I believe, and I find happiness and content in speaking to the student community all this while. Again, another great opportunity. Thank you for having me here, Professor Kanabiran and Dr. Anushree. It's a great opportunity. So what I'm going to talk to you about is a very familiar thing today in these days, right? So just like we had earlier, we always wonder if there is a car without a seatbelt or a mobile with a screen lock. You feel, yeah, there is something missing in there, right? So now that we see an app without a login page where you're storing or you are entering a lot of information there, or you do a banking transaction without going through an OTP step, you feel, oh, is it the right thing? Is there anything missing here, right? And that's how security has evolved to one of the base need for anything and everything that we deal with today, right? Just like what we had earlier, food, water, and shelter. And as we move upwards, like the Maslow's law for needs, it became our emotional needs. There are social needs. There are like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. All of that became a very common or very necessary thing for all of us today, right? And I'm sure there are other apps that you guys must be using very frequently as well, which I may not be very used to. So the needs have changed over a year. So is the security for basing on those needs, right? So I'll talk quickly about the difference, how things have changed over the year. So very, very familiar picture, right? So the war situation that we have today with Russia and Ukraine, there are two types of wars that are going on today. The conventional war, which tanks and the planes and the missiles and the bombs and all those stuff, which we are used to, right? And the right side of it is a cyber warfare. The right from even before the actual war started, there was a Russia-Ukraine cyber war that's been going on. It was not just affecting the countries Russia and Ukraine. It actually affected multiple thousands of people in Europe without internet due to the cyber attack. On the next day, very next day when the war actually started, there was a malware called Hermetic Viper, which was planted on the computers of a lot of Ukraine organizations, which stopped them from doing any transactions. It literally kind of wiped the data out from their systems, right? And just as of yesterday, I think before I think this after I prepared this presentation, several power grids were taken off because of a potential the potential cyber attack that happened in Ukraine. Right, some of the major power plants were taken off. There was a power outage because of a cyber attack. So while the left side you will see there is a human life loss. There is definitely a lot of blood that is being shed. The right, in an hour's time, the right side, it happens in a matter of seconds. In seconds, minutes, things get wiped off, and that could also eventually impact the human lives, right? So if a power grid goes off, there could be multiple reasons, multiple places that it will impact human lives as well. For example, if there is no power in a hospital, how that could impact your human lives, right? So one side it is about hours, the other side it's about few minutes and seconds to have an impact on the overall life system of our anybody, right? So this is not something that is new. It's real. It is there for some time, and it will remain forever. So what I've given some of these examples, right? Some of you must be familiar about the denial of service attacks, the attacks on electrical power grid. Sometimes back there was an electrical power grid attack on one of the US cities power grid, and there was a malware that struck the power grid, and the entire city went off. The power went off. They went to ground. Right? There were propaganda attacks, something like what you've seen in case of Ukraine, Russia attack. There is a planned way of attacking countries and even industries for that matter. So when the COVID-19 was at peak and the vaccination was something that was being developed and distributed, there is a vaccine cold chain distributor network that happened. There was a cyber attack that happened on that, which impacted overall vaccine distribution, right? There could be surprise attacks like WannaCry that happened several years back on a Friday evening, and even Log4j, right? So I don't know how many of you are aware about Log4j attack. That was actually an issue that was found in the Java based systems. There was a JNDI lookup. If there is JNDI lookup enabled, people could even hackers could get access to these systems remotely. And literally a lot of system work on Java. And this happened in the first week of December. And that actually literally kept everyone awake during the weekend and next couple of weeks as well, right? So those were some of the surprise attacks that you will see. So around 2.9 million this is cybercrime cost organizations every minute. And it is about 3.86 is the average attack cost that organizations face. And also, if I look at the damage that is the total damage that happened in the last 1 year or so, it's around $6 trillion is what we are talking about. And there are 28 billion plus things to secure. So you could imagine at any point in time, you have at least 10 plus devices connected to internet at home, right? And for you itself, it could be your smartwatch, it could be your mobile, it could be your tablet, it could be your laptop, right? So minimum is what I could think of, like four devices that you are connected to internet. So think of a family of 4, then 16 devices minimum. Let's also look at a smart TV that is connected to internet, other devices as well. So combining all of this, there will be around 28 billion plus devices that are connected to internet, right? Now, I spoke about all these numbers, some of this dreading facts, etc. Right? So you must be thinking now on, all right, what is it for me here? All right, everything is fine. What are you going to talk about? Right? All right, so let me hand those numbers. There are 1.8 million unfulfilled cybersecurity jobs today. Why? So the primary reason, cybersecurity is not the first choice of career for me. And in fact, it's not even now. Even when I started my career 20 years back. When I started my engineering back, I never considered security as one of the career options. I wanted to do development. I liked code development. I started as a developer, and over the time, then I felt, oh no, this is interesting, but I wanted to do something different, because doing after a few years, I would say not few years, 1.5 years, I realized that no, I don't want to continue doing just the development. Then I picked up testing as one of my career option, because that secure software testing is one of this, right? So I liked finding issues, like finding bugs in the already developed project. Yeah, it's not a pleasant one, but yeah, I liked that, and that actually created an opportunity to start my career in application security. But but it was never a first choice for me. And when I speak to students today, other than a few who find cybersecurity as an interesting field, even many of them would want to consider development as the first choice, or maybe some of them would want to look at higher degree and things like that, right? So, this was never a first career choice for many people. The other point, the cybersecurity job is not a pleasant one. It is mostly saying no to many people, right? So let's imagine just like any tester, right? So you've developed an application, and I'm doing a pen testing for this application. I'm saying, hey, this has a remote code execution vulnerability or a SQL injection vulnerability. You can't release this application to production, right? So there are several parties who are just waiting for a yes from your side, but you are saying no. Isn't it pleasant? No, not at all pleasant. And you will be pressurized from all over the organization, saying that your CIO will call you, or probably the project manager will come and create all the justification. No, this application is going to be accessed by some internal people. At times there is one role that is an external one. So why do you think remote code execution is a problem, right? So there will be several pressuring situations that will come in. The customer problem, the customers will come, the internal application development team will come. They will all pressurize you, but you will still be saying no to it, right? They will do all the tactics to make you say yes, and then you are looking at you're playing a role of a disruptor, isn't it? So many times people say that's an image problem. I don't want to be the bad guy, or that guy who always finds a problem and says no to anything that's happening around, right? Well, that's not the case, right? So it still till some time back, we used to have this image of just saying no to the problem, right? However, if you look at some of the key statements today coming in, especially let's look at banking applications, right? So you would see, do banking securely, right? Let's also look at Zoom. When it was introduced, we all started using it blindly, right? Then there were security issues that came out in Zoom. Now, one of the things that they're talking about, how can you securely do your conferences, right? So you could see there is a difference. People are creating security as a key differentiator in whatever they are developing. So now security is becoming more of an enabler, not disruptor in the overall ecosystem, right? So and earlier CISOs are security people used to be reporting to only CISOs, but see now there is in a whole organization, the CIOs are part of leading security teams, and that becomes, there is a paradigm shift that is happening. So it's not a pleasant non-pleasant job anymore. You are and in every large deal, if you look at organizations who are coming to requirements. And I would give you this example. One of the big banks that I've worked in the past. So my previous organization was developing mobile application for them. And I'm not naming the customer and the application, but something you guys are very, very familiar with the banking world today. It is a big name in the domestic banking sector. So the mobile app was developed by my previous organization. And literally, the whole release was stopped because the application had huge security vulnerabilities. And in fact, our team, security team and the development team worked hand in hand, day and night, to make sure that we could provide them the right guidance. They fixed the issues, and that then went live. So you could see that, and even at that point in time, with the banking, the director, who's the head of the banking division, in fact, she was very, very supportive, and she accommodated our request to stop the release, delay the release, because there were security issues. So that's the kind of attention that we are getting when it comes to security problems. So security is considered, now the other problem that people have, security is considered niche within niche, right? So while we talk about developing complex applications, we speak about AI and ML and things like that. Security is still considered, oh, I need some special skills to be a security person. No, not at all. Security, when you are starting with security, I would say there are a few things that you would need. You need to know programming skills. You need to understand how applications are developed. Second, you need to understand how networks are working, because security is not just applications. It is all about network as well. And it is also about how computers work, right? And last, have a good problem-solving skill. When someone comes you with a security problem, you should help them with a right solution and be the consultant to solve their problems. And obviously, the communication skills, presentation skills, all are secondary, right? But having a problem-solving mindset, and any of your, even non-technical people, right? So there are people who have done their CAs and graduation in the commerce background, and even other background, they have picked up careers in cybersecurity, because there is a place for everybody, for different kind of careers within cybersecurity. So this is not a niche. You don't need to acquire a lot of niche skills to be a cybersecurity expert, or to start a career in the cybersecurity. And the third thing, which is something that I always find people lack here, awareness about career paths and different roles, right? So they don't know what are different career paths available, where you can start, where you can go, and what are the options available, right? And I'm sure when you think about cybersecurity roles, this is the picture that you will have in mind, right? A hacker who's with a hoodie and just introduced to a computer and finding hacking into network and applications and whatnot, right? Well, if you think this is the only cybersecurity role and this is the only way to start your career, you are wrong. I'm going to talk about, in the next 5 minutes or so, I will talk about a couple of career options that you can choose from, right? As I started, it is not just about disrupting systems that are built up already, right? So build secure system. So you could be security consultants who can provide advisory to the software developing teams in terms of how to implement a key management system, how to implement a password authentication and authorization system, how to secure your container environments, right? What are the cloud security controls that you need to implement when you are developing a system, right? And you could even be a security project manager who was looking at, okay, are you implementing all the security features that are suggested? And you could be security architects who will put all the security systems together for a large application or a large enterprise setup. So for example, when it comes to, let's take an example of one another engagement that I worked. It was for developing the entire, in fact, the transformation for central excise and tax system for Government of India. So we have been, there were security architects. So there is a development team who was developing the application. There are definitely the infrastructure team who kind of decided, okay, these are the different cloud setup that is needed. What are the configurations, etc. There was a security architect who suggested, all right, to the network level, you need to have an you need to have a WAF, which is wireless access. You need to have a web access, web application firewall. The other one would say, oh yeah, you need to have a database activity monitoring system. You need to have a key management system. It could be integrated to your Azure cloud, right? Or maybe an AWS key management system. It could, there was an application, there's an application level. We spoke about, okay, these are the logging and monitoring systems that you should have. You should also have database activities monitored, like, or the password control should be like this. So a security architect would help you to design the overall system and define, okay, these are the places where the threat actors could potentially come in. And this activity is called threat modeling. These are the potential threat actors, and this could be the potential way where the places where the data could be lost, right? And then help them to design the system. And security engineers, you could still do development, but you will be doing development of security products, right? Imagine McAfee, right? That was developed by one engineer or developer who actually knew security, but were doing a development work as well. So you could still build secure system. And once you have built the system, you need to have someone looking at these system and monitor, detect, and stop threats, just like the security guard at the front door of, or just like your antivirus system on the desktop, right? So think of an enterprise scenario where you could have security analyst and specialist who is monitoring the network events, desktop events, application events, database events, and so on, and alert the right people to take actions, right? So those are the people who do that. Security testers, like penetration testers and people like that. Forensic experts, when there is an incident, how do you kind of break the whole thing and find out, all right, this was the problem, right? And how do we track that to the root cause? That's for that particular problem. And security compliance specialists and auditors, for example, the ones, if you are not very fond of doing core technical stuff, right? There is a lot that goes behind putting together a secure process also, right? So do you have the right reviews in place? Do you have the right change management being followed? Are you have you set up the systems with the right controls that are defined for your cloud security, cloud setup, so on and so forth, right? These are the security compliance specialists and auditors. Sometimes you need separate independent auditing as well to certify these systems, right? So those are that is another career path you can take up. It would be a techno functional or techno governance kind of a career path. You still need to have technical knowledge, but instead of doing technical testing, you will be doing more artifacts-based testing or evidences-based testing and reviews in this kind of situation, right? For example, you have a privacy requirement, and are you compliant to the privacy requirements for the particular applications? What are the things that you're doing to make it work? Are you following a privacy by design principle? What are have you looked at a consent, right? When we look at applications today, right? So you have a consent before you provide your personal details, right? So do you have a consent system implemented, right? So these are the things that these people would look at. So so that like the other point, if you are fond of business, if you want fond of you still want some bit of technical, but you have a lot more business oriented or solution oriented mindset. You have a career in growing the business as well. So those are the people who will work with customers in defining the solutions for them, called solution architects. People who can sell security after you have some bit of knowledge in security, or maybe in general technical also. You can acquire skills in and do your do a seller as a salesperson's job. And believe me, that is very, very interesting when it comes to solution architects and security sellers, because you get to know several tools, several different problems that the customers come to you and think of, okay, how do I resolve this customer's problem, right? So I was a solution architect for a long time. And I would say one of the interesting problems that I got to solve, definitely there were several. This was for a manufacturer of dice in India, actually. So there is a particular formula, just like KFC, you have a particular composition and formula that they don't share with others, right? So they have a particular formula for that particular polythene that they were developing, and they wanted us to secure that formula. It had several, there were places where from that the raw materials were shipped. There were places where the formula was given. There were places where it was stored. So how do you put all of these systems together and help them secure that particular IP, intellectual property that they had, right? So it was a very interesting one that I worked, and it really had elements of technical as well as procedure, physical security, and supply chain aspects, etc. So this is a career path. There is no single destination. So you can start as a consultant. You can move into the consultant career path. You can start as a security analyst. You can become a security specialist by being a specialist in one or two areas. And then you can acquire multiple skills in security and become an architect who can design system. The project managers in managing larger security delivery engagements, sales people that we spoke about, and you can, if you don't want any of this, you have more of an R&D, research and development mindset. You still have an option there as well. You can be a product developer, product architect, and do threat research to take up. And none of these are fixed path, right? You can, just like I started as a developer and I moved into testing, right? And then I also had an opportunity to be solution architects. Then I had an opportunity to program managers and delivery project executive. And right now, I'm more of I'm also doing more of a mix of a managing consultant and a associate partner role coming together as a managing principal role that I'm doing today, right? So there is no single day that you will not learn anything. There is a new problem to solve every day, and there are new ways to solve them as well. So this is I just put this picture here for you to know about different skills that are beyond just a technical skill. As I said, there is a new problem every day. Decision making is important, right? There are new tools, new threats coming in. Change tolerance is another one. You have only few hours to respond to a cyber threat. Time management is important. You will be talking to cyber crime victims. Empathy is another important one, right? Communication, presentation, social skills, all of this are equally important for you to acquire to be successful as a cybersecurity professional. And how can you join the Cyber Warriors bandwagon? So 4 things: explore, choose potential roles of interest. I've given a link where you can kind of find out something related to what I spoke today. Gear up, There are several certification programs available from organizations like Coursera, Udemy, and even certification programs that are available external through universities as well. Explore, pick up a basic one to start, and then build upon those skills. And once you start a basic one, you will understand different ways that you would like to look at. Don't fix your objective to just being a pen tester. There is a lot more beyond pen testing. There are a lot more that you can do for developing security, and you can do auditing, you can do threat analysis, you can do identity and access management. A lot of different career options are there. So some of these tools, some of these courses will give you the right direction. And when you are still studying, try to get certification. CompTIA plus security and network are some of the startup certification. GSEC, cloud security certification, is it about AWS or AWS cloud practitioner, cloud security professional, Azure 300, 600, any of this you can pick up. GPEN, SSCP is another starting level certification. So this will give you a lot of credibility when you are applying for jobs. So when you are studying, it's a lot more easier to acquire some of these certification. There are advanced certification that you can claim only after having a few years of experience, which you can take it up at a later stage. But these are all beginner certification that doesn't require any experience. And now, how do you practice? Especially because we're talking about women in Women's Day initiative. I'm part of an organization. I'm in fact several of them, but VSIS, Women in Cybersecurity, is a global organization, and I'm one of the founding members and the executive committee member of this India chapter. And I'm also part of Executive Women's Forum, which is a global organization. So there are scholarships available, which will offer you small internship opportunities as well that you can pick up and find ways to practice. So I have given the links for these as well. So if you visit them, that will give you guidance on how to apply for scholarships and how to apply for mentorship, etc. Right? So explore. I'll repeat it again. Explore. Gear up with the right trainings. Certify yourself with the 1 or 2 certifications and practice through internship. And you can definitely join and you can make a difference in that 1.8 million cybersecurity skill gap that we have today, right? So looking forward to all of you join us in the cybersecurity bandwagon. I think I shared some of my journey over the over my talk, but I'll stop here, wait for some questions, and then if I have time, we will come back to my journey as such.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your experience and telling us about the various roles available in the field of cybersecurity. I'm sure it will make a great motivation to the crowd present here. I have a question on behalf of the students. What are the steps that we can take as students to avoid losing confidentiality?
Well, think before you click. So that's what I would say. And anything that goes out into the internet is never wiped off. So think before you click, think before you send. That's what. And think about who is then that will make you think of who is accessing that, who will potentially use that information for, right? So before putting anything into the internet, think.
Thank you, ma'am. It was great having you here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nisha from UG2 ECE. It is an honor to introduce Ms. Sucharita Kamath, who has 2.5 decades of a unique blend of experience in the corporate and sustainable development space, spanning the IT, non-profit, social enterprise, and consulting industries, including various senior management roles, social enterprise management, consulting learning, development IT program, and delivery management are her areas of specialty. She is currently India head at Aspen Network of Development and Entrepreneurs. Now, I'd like to invite her to give us a few insights into this world of entrepreneurship and more. Over to you, ma'am.
Thanks, Isha. Before I start, though, I am aware that we are running quite late, so I just want to quickly check how much time do I actually have?
20 minutes.
Okay. All right. So I will try and stick to that 20-minute brief. I'd also thought that this would be a lot more interactive. So Isha, if that's you who has access to a mic and can ask questions, I don't know if the group of girls that I see under the IIITS window on Zoom can actually walk up and ask. I hope they will, because this is a step away, right? Since my brief was to talk about entrepreneurship, it's kind of very hard to do that via a PowerPoint presentation, in my opinion, right? So I want this to be sort of a back and forth Q&A to begin with. And hopefully in the process, I can give you examples from my life's journey, rather than walk you through 25 years of where I've been from my first internship to where I am today. Yeah, so I hope there will be questions from all of you. I'm following 3 wonderful speakers before me who were, I'm sure you have realized are terrific role models. I must compliment the IIITS team for so carefully and thoughtfully curating the panel, and I hope all of the participants will make full use of that. So let me start off by asking you what you think entrepreneurship is.
It's a very difficult question for them.
Yes, but I was actually, so I think we have a few students here, right? There's Isha, there's Janvi. Do you want to check with your colleagues if you have access to them and maybe have somebody answer? Give me a few key points. I really would like to hear the students themselves respond, please, if that's possible.
Yes, ma'am, I'll check that and get back to you.
According to me, I think entrepreneurship is finding a solution to a real life problem and starting something like a company or an organization and providing with the best solution that we have at hand.
Yeah, thanks, Janvi. I think, sorry to put you on the spot, but I have to use you as a proxy, and this is part of innovating on the fly. But I will say, as the other students, if you think of anything, please do share it via folks that you have in the room. But yes, I think you've gotten a lot of it. But to me, sort of a crucial element of entrepreneurship is in the ability to be able to grow, right, and to create more jobs, right? To me, that's what is really special. And of course, there are certain other attributes in terms of, as an entrepreneur, your own ability to dictate the course of what you want to be doing and how you want to be doing it, right? Solutions can be innovative. They can be, as they say, incrementally innovative. They have to be, right? Or they can be doing, something entirely different, what one calls breakthrough innovation. Those tend to be rarer, right? But before I jump into sort of examples from my own journey, can I, by a show of hands, I can see the screen, understand from participants here, how many of you are really considering entrepreneurship as a career? Nobody. I don't see any hands raised. I am watching, by the way. And I know when the others asked questions, I did see hands raising, but I don't see anybody raising hands here. So maybe I should ask the IIITS team, is there sort of a point in my jumping into this and talking about entrepreneurship if the participants here aren't really inclined to take that up?
No, you need to today make them, change their mind.
Okay, I will try. I don't know about change their mind, because I think that's a good sort of organic way to start what I was hoping would be a conversation, right? So I think what I will try and present to you are practical experiences from my journey, right? I honestly don't consider myself a hugely successful entrepreneur. I think it's something I have attempted, and I'm happy to share sort of my lessons learned from that journey. Do keep in mind that this was also at a very different time, right? All of you will be graduating soon. We're talking about something that happened at least more than 10 years back, close to 15 years back, right? And that is by definition a generation back, and much has changed since then, right? But I think one of the key aspects that you need to ask yourself is your ability to take risk, right? Are you willing to do it? And I think the fact is that for a lot of us, a regular job provides security, right? And I know the three speakers before me have given you a bunch of options of how you can get into AI, how can you get into security, whether it's AI in sports. And I know the very, very competent speaker who's coming after me, I think Shama's just joined us, is also going to talk to you about technology for development, right? How can you use technology for development? So I hope some of you will take a look at that. What I will say is that entrepreneurship is definitely not for everybody. So I don't want to make it seem super rosy. I think one of the lessons for me is that maybe I'm not really cut out to be my definition of an entrepreneur, right? Somebody who creates many jobs, who scales, who raises funding, different forms of funding. I won't go into that now because unless you have some kind of interest, it will all just be jargon to you, right? So my attempt at entrepreneurship was so I went the route that I think most of you here will go, right? From technology. I started off in technology. 1997, I think, was my internship. My first full-time job was 99, if I remember right. Yeah, so I started with SIFI, then was with Satyam Computers, etc. Right? So I started in technology as well, did the very secure, what's going to put money on the table option. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? But then at that stage, I felt I'd earned the luxury to be able to think a little beyond and ask myself, is this all I want to be doing? Do I want to have the freedom to pick and choose what kinds of roles I take on, where I go, and to move at my pace? And I will also be completely honest. I think this inward looking phase also coincided with my having my son, right? My first child. Yeah. Where I was trying to figure out a way where I could be an active contributor, enjoy what I was doing. And also, of course, enjoying meant being able to create enough time for my family, right? Those were my priorities. Right? And what's the learning from that is that actually being an entrepreneur is a very tough job, right? Is it as risky as it was perceived that many years back? I certainly believe it isn't, but it's not secure. You don't have necessarily that paycheck at the end of the day. It needs you to go through a phase of a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of courage, right? To be able to walk an entrepreneur's journey. But there are loads and loads of entrepreneurs who are doing it. So I will say, please go out there, and just like many of the other speakers have spoken to you about doing your homework, please do your homework. I know that the team actually has another entrepreneur scheduled to speak. I don't know if that's today or if that's in your next session, where you have, I believe, Anu from Map My Geno scheduled to speak. Is that correct, Prof?
It's tomorrow evening.
Yeah, tomorrow. Right. So there's a perfect example of what my definition of an entrepreneur is. But I think it's also appropriate for me to be speaking to you because, like I said, I think I was where you sit right now. And I think it's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. I think where India is in its journey, especially when it comes to its women, the reality is there are a lot of challenges that we face. There are many more choices that we need to make. I know the overarching theme is supposed to be about women's equality, right? I think before we can talk about women being equal, we need to talk about what is called equity, right? How can the ecosystem and everyone around us, including ourselves, right? We make up the ecosystem as well, create that level playing field, right? That's what equity is about. Yeah, without going into the definition of the words, equity refers to first creating a level playing field. Only if all parties start from the same place can you then talk about equality from there on, right? So I think a lot of that needs to happen, and you need to have your eyes very open to this reality. But things have changed tremendously in the last 15 plus years, right? So I started my in-between attempt at entrepreneurship through a consulting partnership that I started with 2 other partners. And these partners I actually met in my journey along the way, right? They were people. One was my boss at Satyam Computers. Another was a colleague who had worked on a project with Citibank. We found common ground. We wanted to be able to offer a certain set of services, management consulting services, to small enterprises. So to nonprofits, to social enterprises, and to small enterprises who typically tend not to be able to afford the larger folks, right? So the McKinseys and the Booz Allens and the Accentures of the world, right? Who can't afford them. So nothing hugely innovative in the idea, right? Very run of the mill, but a certain opportunity and a certain niche opportunity. That's what we saw when we started the partnership in 2008. Yeah, so that was my attempt to ask myself, am I cut out for this? Yeah, I want to have freedom. I want to be able to do what I want to do, pick the job, the kinds of projects that give me happiness, do it in a way that, allows for work-life balance. All of us talk about it a lot these days, right? So that was my attempt. But what I found in the process is that it is very tough, especially when you start, right? So we never moved on to growing beyond 3. We're still at 3 partners. It's a conscious choice. I think what it's taught me is that if you want to really be growing beyond this, ask yourself if you're able to sacrifice some of that work-life balance. If you are willing to work a lot harder, and figure out when is the time and pace, and if you have, some of the other qualities that are required, right? The ability to take risk, and risk with others' money, not just your money, right? I think that's a very, very important decision point, and not an easy one to make as well, right? Those are questions that I am still answering as I figure this out, but there are lots and lots of successful, far more successful women entrepreneurs, for those of you who are interested. And I'd be happy to share more information, either in Q&A format now, or the IIITS team has my email address and I can share it with you in the chat window. Those of you who are interested, feel free to write to me and we can set up a one-on-one or a 2-on-1 chat.
Excuse me, ma'am. I have a question for you on behalf of the girls. Now that you've been in the game for a minute, do you see a significant change in your priorities compared to when you started initially? And do you think there's something you feel like you'd want to change back then, which would have made an impact on your career now?
Okay, so the first question, which is have things changed? Yeah, I think all of you heard this, right? Even though it sounds cliche, the only constant is change. So of course things have changed, and of course, therefore priorities have changed, right? When you're young is actually very often, you hear this, right? So I would like to bust this myth a little bit, not entirely, right? The reason why people say the best time to try and be an entrepreneur is when you're young and single, right? Because the level of risk is less. It's just you have the ability to up and move wherever you can. You can do a bunch of things that you can't do when you get a little more settled in life. And for those of you who want to have families and the rest of it, right? But having said that, there are many who make certain conscious decisions, right? Because they want to lead that path, right? Which is yes, I want to have a spouse and I want to get married, but I don't want to have children, right? Or no, I just want to be single because I want to have this single-minded focus on this enterprise that I'm building. And I think they're all valid options. That's a slightly longish response, Isha, to you, but the short answer is priorities do change. I think that's a reality. That's part of growing up for anyone, not just a woman. But I think definitely more so for women in India. I don't think I need to talk about the context. A lot of things have changed, but they haven't changed that much, right? So that's my response to that. And the question about would I like to do things differently? I personally believe that isn't too much point in looking back and talking about things that you could change, right? Because times are never the same. So no, actually, I wouldn't want to change too much because I think they were right at that point of time, given my priorities. And I think that every experience has taught me and allowed me to build networks that has brought me to where I am today, right? I said I would bust that myth partially saying that when you're young is the only time. You increasingly see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs, take up entrepreneurship a little later on in life, right? And move towards that for many of the practical reasons. And I think that's very much a valid option. And therefore, what I would say is, as you gain experiences, try and be as thoughtful as you can at that point of time, because tomorrow the context will change, right? And always remember that every role that you play, there is something for you to learn and build on and take away. And there are skills for life that you learn that will become as relevant to setting up an enterprise as they would to any other job.
Thank you, ma'am. That was really informative. I hope more of us get out there a bit more and are willing to take risks and make their mark in this field.
Take thoughtful risks, but don't think that is actually that risky, right? Because I think the support system in terms of, incubators that are available or role models in terms of what other women are doing or the networks, you've seen some of them here, you will continue. I'm sure, I don't know who actually spoke to you yesterday, but going forward as well. So please definitely consider this a very, very valid option, but go in with your eyes open. That's what I'll say, Isha. And while you hand over, please feel free to do so. I'm just going to tap my email address in the chat box for anyone who's interested in seeking me out to set up a more personal conversation. I'd be happy to do that because Andy, who I represent here today in many ways as well, part of our mandate is to sort of help create that entrepreneur ecosystem. We work with what we call our small and growing businesses. So they start a little after startup, right? So our definition of small and growing businesses is enterprises that have between 5 and 250 employees. And we have a definition around ability to absorb funding, which I won't bother with right now. So we don't really work with the very early stage startup, but having said that, eventually these enterprises have to come from you, right? They have to come from the youth of India. And I hope we see more women entrepreneurs there.
Thank you, ma'am. It was great having you here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Hello, I'm Tanuja of UG4 EC. I'm very excited to have an opportunity to introduce our guest, Professor Shyama Ramani. Ms. Ramani is a professorial fellow at United Nations University. Her work focuses mainly on the relationships between technology, innovation, and their governance for inclusive development. Her current work examines the role of technology and innovation to attain the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and the strategies of firms and governments to introduce and diffuse innovations in specific sectors such as sanitation, education, healthcare, and agriculture. She founded a charity action research unit, Friend in Need, which aims to improve sanitation coverage and hygiene conditions in rural India. And she is also the co-founder of an NGO named Sight for Society. Without further ado, I welcome Ms. Shyama Ramani.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciated the talk by Sucharita, and I congratulate all of you on being so patient. So everybody get up. Come on, shake your shoulders. You must have been listening to people the whole day. Get up, get up. Let me see you. I see one IITS student. Shake. Then only I will speak. Stretch yourself. Tell me when you're ready. I don't see anybody moving. Are you ready? Give me a thumbs up sign when you're ready. Get up, stretch, stretch, stretch. Okay? Okay. So I'm the last speaker. I will try to keep it as short as possible. By the way, Sight for Society is not an NGO. It's some sort of a student club, I would say. And it's been taken over. And this has something to do with the way academics works. Okay? Today, I was asked to speak about the NGO I run. I created and run. This is the village where it is. And to give my perspectives on that, this is called Friend in Need India Trust. And I'm going to speak about our education engagement for development, because I was asked to motivate all you young students to take an interest in the university initiatives with the adoption of villages and so forth. So let me just tell you, I am an economist. I do work on the Sustainable Development Goals. This is a global development agenda covering practically every kind of problem you can think of. And I'm particularly interested in technology and innovation. And I've studied technology, innovation, gender, entrepreneurship, and so forth. But I'm here to talk about my other life, okay? Because we can all have multiple lives now, multiple work activities, and I'm here to talk about Friend in Need India Trust. You can see in the internet what we do and so forth. I'm going to tell you our story, and I hope to give you some food for thought. So our vision, you see, is to basically make India clean. When I adopted a village after the tsunami, I was shocked to find it so far away from my vision of a village as a place which is clean, which is great, whereas I found here the incidence of cancer, diabetes, heart attacks. You see, in a village where there's no problem of food, a coastal village that had been devastated, very high. Why is it? It's because open defecation. It's because of lack of community waste management and hygiene behavior. And it's also because people are burying or burning waste, and we are consuming so much. There's so many non-biodegradables, and they're putting toxins into the air, so that respiratory diseases are also becoming very, very a big cause of the disease burden, morbidity, especially in India. So the idea was to make Kameshwaram a model village, okay, by using it as a living lab to develop models and maybe tools for others in the practitioner sector to do better than us. Because you see, I'm basically an academic. It's a handful of people, and everything I do, it's from my extra work in academics and in the industry as a consultant. Okay, so it's just from one person's fundraising activities, and I get volunteers and so forth. So we are not something big, yet we have made a lot of impact. And that's what is interesting, because my belief is that little drops of water make an ocean. My objective is not to make a scale impact, anyway it's impossible, but to develop little ideas, impact people so that they can take it, replicate it, try out, and we can have a mass movement of greater responsibility, accountability for a transformation. Okay, so the thing is, in terms of what it is, it's a very unique setup because we are communicating with different stakeholder groups. The base of the income pyramid communities, the very destitute, the very marginalized, ours is an entirely, OBC with a lot of Dalits, few scheduled castes, scheduled tribes who are on the periphery of the village, and therefore they're not even counted in the census, 2011 census. They're not anywhere present, whereas they do live there. So then there are informal workers, practitioners, and I also publish. I publish quite a lot, and it has really impacted the way I do research, the other research on technology and innovation and its role. So we have a rural lab and we have a virtual lab, and both are fun, and they talk with each other. They talk with each other. So it's been kind of there's a feedback loop, and that's what makes it unique and exciting. So what we have done is we give a lot of training to students. Okay, so initially I had mainly European students. I could not attract any Indian students because they found the conditions of work in the village to be too harsh, and they weren't basically interested. Then I got one school to take interest. That's the Madras School of Social Work. So they come off and on whenever possible. But what has happened is that we are having a lot of Indian students now, and I'm very, very happy. Yeah, Suchitra?
Thanks, Shama. Sorry, just to make this a little interactive, if you don't mind, can I jump in here?
Please.
Would you?
Of course, of course.
Okay, so I'm just going to turn my video on. It feels weird.
Yes, thank you so much.
Blank screen. Right, and I'm jumping in here because you mentioned the Madras School of Social Work, and I think it's actually nice to tag team here, right? So we're looking at social impact and working with nonprofits is very separate from the rest of the world here. So one of the very few schools that actually looks at the traditional way into working with nonprofits is via social work. But I want to point out, and they're an amazing school, so for anybody who wants to learn more, please figure out how you can work with them. Also, of course, I'm from Chennai, so I'm a little biased, apologies for that. Of course, TIS is the other amazing program, but TIS does a bunch of stuff. But for the students who are here, especially since we talked about entrepreneurship, right? For those who are interested in bringing enterprise and impact together, please do your research around social entrepreneurship. There is a space for it. They definitely do not work in the space that NGOs work, right? So the kind of work, Shama, that you've just spoken here, very few social enterprises can make that work. Yeah, so I have to acknowledge that. But having said that to the group that's here, the point I want to make is that it isn't one single path, right? As we make these journeys and determine. So I moved from corporate India into traditional nonprofit, doing fundraising for what used to be Child Relief in You and is now Child Rights in You. I was with them for 3 years, absolutely amazing time. And what I learned there was something that no school or no college could have taught me, right? And experiencing that part of India where as an urban, educated, or maybe, which most of the students at IIITS, I'm pretty sure are, right? Or maybe peri-urban, you never get to see, right? So that's one, right? So there was that transition from corporate into a nonprofit where I actually discovered social enterprise for my reasons, right? They were reasons that made sense to me. And to the point that I made earlier, that every experience builds you towards what you want to be doing next in your path. That's why I want to talk about this, and that the two worlds don't actually have to be entirely apart. And neither do you have to go the Madras School of Social Work route.
Not at all.
Get into doing more.
That is the thing. You see, we have had so many international students and all because, you see, there has been, the pressure has come from above. Okay. The pressure has come from abroad. And since 2019, there is pressure in India. What is that pressure? There in the global sustainable goals, you see, one of the things that they are asking I just use the annotate. This goal 4 is quality education. And then there is another goal, which is all partners, all hands on deck. So you see, from quite some time, again, the four runners are the Americans. Okay, in terms of I'm talking about innovative policy. Okay, innovative policy. So they make it a policy cornerstone. I mean, they force academics to take the social work of students also into consideration with respect to admissions. This was followed after the millennium in Europe. Let us keep the policy thing. 2019, various kinds of policy measures were introduced in India. And I can never remember all these names. First of all, there's a hegemony of Hindi, a language which I do not consider really the language of the Indian population, because we are really a subcontinent and we don't have any English names. So I don't know, I don't remember what it's called, but it's something about academic institutions adopting villages and so forth, doing in social work. So I am so happy that outside of the social work space, and this, you see, Sucharita, it hasn't come to Finn because they are very geography specific. So they explained to me that they cannot come to Tamil Nadu. But I'm very, very happy. And I'm very happy that I've even had my first batch of real Tamil students. And it's from the Institute of Technology Management in Ghaziabad. Okay, so this is, so currently, you see, this is how they used to look before. We have had some NRIs. This is the first student I've had from India, and she is from the school in Bangalore, Wipro, Azim Premji School. Okay, so then before it became geographically focused. Okay, because when you're geographically focused like a CSR next to the company, then it becomes difficult. But it's very transdisciplinary. And as a teacher, because I'm also an academic, okay, I am very grateful to students. So I make sure that the work designed, it fits in with the long-term professional objectives and aspirations, also personal. And so we first go through a self-discovery journey where the alumni of Finn talk to the students, because many of them haven't thought in a very realistic way about what they want to do in life. They echo what they have been told by their parents to achieve. So the thing is, there is a self-discovery session where they can also talk about their dreams and they can also see what they want. And I want to improve what I see as employability. And I want whatever they learn here to be useful in their personal and professional life towards making the world a better place. It sounds like a cliche, but it is not. It is really every work I do, especially I am now 62, it is consecrated towards this objective through making the world cleaner, bluer, greener, and more peaceful. So you see, this is from the Future of Jobs report, World Economic Forum. They are finding that Indian graduates are not able to have these in sufficient quantity to be useful in the company. And what I was very surprised was you don't find here teamwork. Whereas when I talk to Indian companies, they tell me the main problem with Indian graduates, with our country's educational ambience, is that there is too much of a focus on competition and not enough on cooperation. So though I take these skills, I try to put in students these skills, okay, through their work, what I'm really wanting them to learn is to cooperate. I really think this is a soft skill that Westerners have acquired better. You know, they have all their personal differences, but they come together for a collective vision of their organizations, whatever it may be. And I want to inculcate this soft skill in putting teams together and making them work together. Indeed, even with my handful of NGO staff, the main problem is interpersonal conflict. So right now we are just cooperating with these, and Engineers Without Borders Ireland, 5 more academic institutions have joined. You might be wondering what they do. So let me just, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute because I need to share with sound. So I thought I will give you one little example, and I will just give you some points to take home. So this is one of my most favorite projects. Okay. This is by 2 girls from Madras School of Social Work. I believe in small is beautiful. So too many students frightens villagers. So you need to be observer participant. You know, you need to apply something called design thinking. And so I'm just going to play this for you and see how they changed the social norm. So you see, we joke, the last joke was Mr. Paranjoti, our field manager, with all this every time he says, there's too much of change, madam, there's too much of change, you know, and it's very funny. But we had put this, we worked together towards this. I've always been wanting to have this happen, you know, because women can create public art. So the days when this is done by FinTrust is the only day women can come out and create public art. You know, this might be something small, but this is something enormous for the village. Now I go to share again. You see, this year's for Women's Day, what are we doing? You see, I don't know how many people are aware, but you see, since I study violence against women and what we can do in terms of innovative policy, I have to face this horror every day of hearing all the news about violence against women. And on our Republic Day in Delhi itself, there was a horrible incidence of rape, where women also watched, and the woman was shamed, and other women participated and jeered. And then I just said, how can such horrible things happen? When we were discussing it with our interns, and one of them said, "Madam, do you know that in all the sitcoms that my mother watches, it's always woman against woman? It is as if woman is the worst enemy of woman. Where do we have women supporting women? In the media, in the culture. Where do we have a mother-in-law supporting a daughter-in-law, sister supporting sister, sister-in-law supporting sister, or, woman, friends?" So I wanted to have a Women's Day celebration, and anybody can participate, and they couldn't conceptualize it. So I asked my intern to make a brochure. It's very easy to translate it into Tamil. The difficult part is conceptualization so that it can be easily translated. The narratives we have got, and our trustee is also here in the audience, has made us all weep with joy also. And we want to again show positive stories of women helping women, because we must change this culture that a woman can only be protected by a man, can only be saved by a man, can only be helped by a man. So these are all patriarchy, and these are the things we are doing. Now, some noteworthy problems on academic initiatives. You might think that offline, that is on site, is the best. I actually find a good dose of online is very, very important. That is to understand the situation. Language really matters. I've had problems. I've had various problems. I'll just give you an anecdote. I've not had so many problems with European students coming to India. My biggest problem has been with NRIs coming to India. We joked, that is like the Iraq invasion, because they come with a preset notion of what the community needs. They come with these preset notions, and they do not listen. They do not understand. They do not empathize. One has to first keep quiet, and one has to become a friend before doing any change. All this is taught in social work, but for others, it's better to go slow. So I find the biggest shortcoming of students who come to help in communities is their arrogance, is their lack of humility, the arrogance that comes with knowledge and a degree. And the worst arrogance is, I don't know which is the worst, but I've had to suffer. So now we immediately send the student back if they start showing off, and they start putting solutions on the people instead of co-designing solutions. Now, this is not like designing a product for the market. In fact, they do it in a much more intelligent way. It's the same way with the community innovation, that is introducing any novelty. You have to think of the community as your consumers. You have to understand their psychology. You have to go slow. You cannot impose things on them. And in academic programs, I have found various problems for academics institutions, because we have, since a very long time, the NSS, which has the same mission for transformative change. But with the NSS people I've talked to, it is such a checklist approach. It's more a charity than a transformation. They've told me, we go clean up the ponds. In 2 weeks, the ponds are dirty again. So they have these annual shows. They have lovely annual reports. But there isn't a continuity to and a will to transform. Transformative change takes a long time. One shouldn't be ambitious. One should just take it as it comes, and any progress is good. And in academic institutions, there are floating populations, teachers. The engagement of teachers is extremely important, but teachers have their academic careers also to think of. So how to put this so that they get points for their engagement for this transformative change, which we think is as important as publication in a top journal or a patent. And so they don't have a long-term vision. They have a charity approach. And the worst is there isn't enough impact evaluation on what they do over time. Finally, there isn't enough reflexivity, which means thinking about what you did wrong and acknowledging it and putting it in the annual reports. This is what didn't work out. Why? Doing a self-psychoanalysis. Today is International Day of Women. And as I told you, I'm very much concerned about first women's safety anywhere. Forget about everything else. First, you must feel safe. So here I'm going to put a fact that is not often put in the open. Development initiatives can be spaces of abuse, moral abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse, sexual abuse. Okay? So one must be aware that this is prevalent everywhere, including in development initiatives. You have to be aware, which means you have to be alert in order to address it. And to address it, you have to know how is it prevalent. So I do not want to say names, but I want to tell you that, you see, in the name of performance, if someone performs well or if the NGO is very famous, then you're pushing under the carpet abuse against own staff and or the beneficiaries who are usually in vulnerable positions to start with. And in academic programs for transformative change also, there have been incidences in academic programs both in India and abroad where the educator has used it as an opportunity to inflict abuse, and nobody talks about it because it's supposed to be such a in development initiatives, you mustn't imagine such things don't happen, and you have to talk about it. And sometimes students abuse other students. Okay, so I want you to all keep this in mind, also the good, the bad and the ugly, so that you make sure in your academic initiatives there are enough people, there mustn't be one person, enough people so that you can gather information and implement a zero tolerance policy. Usually all academic initiatives have a zero tolerance policy in theory. In practice, this doesn't happen in most places. And this is something I am passionate about, preventing abuse. And I can tell you every one of our staff is trained to ensure this never happens. Okay, so with these words, I will stop. Any questions, you see? Yes, it is the environment. It's a mindset. It's the environment that I've been told this. So we need to change. We cannot change. When we say environment, it is a systemic problem. That means we need to have a critical mass saying we also want to cooperate. A little bit of competition is very important. Okay, one mustn't become complacent, but we also cannot forget cooperation.
We have a question from our side. So when you first established Twin, what were some of the challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
I would just say that the main challenge that I faced was that, you see, before I didn't know, main challenge I faced was getting cheated by everybody and raising money for other NGOs. I wanted to be a do-gooder. I never thought I would become an academic social entrepreneur. So it was getting cheated. So I didn't know, I was all set up. Let me tell you how I was set up. You see, there was a lot of money pouring in everywhere after the tsunami from everyone. There was a bounty of the world. So suddenly NGOs also mushroomed all over the place because there were contracts to be obtained from UNICEF, from World Bank, from Care India, Care Child, what all the international thingies. So the thing is, basically, I got hooked on to NGOs in the field of sanitation, but they were also right. I'm very grateful to them, okay, because they got me into this big adventure. So basically, they said that the women were going out for open defecation, but the tsunami had felled the trees, so they needed to have toilets. And they asked me to raise money for toilets. So like, there is a Hindi word. It's I don't know what is the word in Telugu or in Tamil. It's lallu. Lallu is a person who is a bit naive, bit simple and can be taken for a ride. I had no idea this village had a bunch of taps, and you see, but no water was coming. Everybody was taking it from a bore well. What was a toilet? But I was also teaching. I was a researcher in France, but I was also teaching in an engineering school. So I put the boys to work. There were only boys in the class, and they found out about the ecological toilets, and therein began my adventure. And I've given a TEDx talk. So if you put Shama Ramani TEDx, you can hear the rest of my adventure. So it was basically to see which technology in this resource-trapped village, how can you serve a essential need through redesigning technology. So then I found that technology is the least of the problems. It's really building the supply platform, making sure there's no cheating, making sure that it goes properly, because what happened is I raised so much money. In those first 3 years, I must have raised about 3 crores for other NGOs. And in 3-4 years, everything came crumbling down because they, first of all, didn't know how to build toilets properly. They hadn't used the proper materials. Okay. So then I didn't know what to do. So at that time, there was a financial crisis also here. And so somebody, by various things, I landed up in London. And there I was to teach innovation, economics of innovation. But the dean said, no, you're a social entrepreneur. We need a teacher. Teach entrepreneurship. And Sucharita, I didn't know, I knew only entrepreneurship theoretically. No idea what an entrepreneurship was or how it. So then by teaching, I learned about it. So for 3 years, I had only Mr. Paranjyoti. Then I took off. Okay. And I tried to make it into a social enterprise. And I found that I'm an academic. You need to do it differently. So I had to create my own institutional innovation. So it is true. There are not many, there are no NGOs like the ones we are. And I forgot to give you. You see, this is how you see here people from various walks of life and all that, because even without academic programs, these two are from Madras School of Social Work, but others, Madras School of Economics, people just come on their own. I don't know. And what I do is I cannot afford to pay them because I must concentrate on paying my masons and the ladies. So I train them. So this boy is now, for example, working in McKinsey. He said he learned so much about teamwork. This boy is in another, I think he is studying in, he's studying abroad finances. This boy is in Deloitte, he's also doing something. So what they right now I'm going to, I never used to ask such things, but now I know documentation matters. So in our Fin website, we have got, we go to the Center for Circular Economy. We got, you can see what they do. This is I'm sorry, this is not to do this advertisement business, but just to just to tell you, because I think it would be, it's fun. I would say, how can I help the institute? I would say first come here and do an internship and then go and do your work with the institute. You will be even more productive. So this is a Center for Circular Economy. This is a virtual lab I told you about. And I think that in the internship here, we get the videos, you know. I don't know where it is. Yeah. Internships. And I think, and the best thing about the internships is that you know, since I'm having students from different parts of the world, they have to work together. But they work on science, technology, innovation, and policy related to water, sanitation, climate change, waste management, gender. These are our 5 focal areas. Sorry for the long answer, you know, but...
No, ma'am. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us and giving us an insight into Friend in Need.
You're most welcome. And I hope to hear from some of you and from your teachers.
On behalf of IIIT Stress City, I would like to thank all the speakers who have made this event such a wonderful one. I would like to thank our director, Professor Shri Kannabiran sir, for always being there. And last but not least, I also thank friends for participating and everyone who's involved in organizing this event directly and indirectly. Thank you for everyone.